I was asked to give a PowerPoint presentation by Bharati, and I told her, please excuse me, I will not give a PowerPoint presentation, because the last time I gave a PowerPoint presentation, a student came up to me and said, sir, there was no power in your presentation and there was no point to it also. So since then, I've stopped giving PowerPoint presentations. Coming to the topic, managing from day-to-day life and culture. I think if you see the business sector or management at large, I would like to divide it into two perspectives. One, formal management, and one, informal management. Formal management, of course, is what you learn. I think most of you all are very privileged to be in one of the best colleges, to get one of the best educations. So that is the formal side of it, where you are doing BBS, MBA, you learn various management skills. And the other is the informal. The formal sector, you are learning a lot of hard skills from your textbooks which you want to implement, which nowadays everyone has. Maybe 2 decades back when you were an engineer or a PhD or a doctor, everyone used to say, wow, you're an engineer, you're a PhD. Because there were very few people, such people in Nepal. But now, when you're an engineer, a doctor, a PhD, an MBA, how do you distinguish yourself? Because there's so many other qualified people. Don't get me wrong, this is very important. Education is very important, it lays the foundation. But I would like to still stress on the soft skills side, the human resource, the personal management side, which will set you apart in your day-to-day job as managers and leaders of the future. Because when you manage, along with your professional degree, you need to deal with a lot of people. You need to communicate with a lot of people. You need to convince a lot of people. You need to convey your ideas and your vision in such a manner so that others are inspired and they work towards your vision and objectives. Studies is very important, it lays the foundation, but please focus on the soft skills side, which I think a lot of your colleges, you have a lot of activities where you are focusing on. Coming back to education, as I said, you all are very fortunate to be one of the best colleges in Nepal, because in the government sector, a lot of schools and colleges do not have that quality of education. Because now there has been a paradigm shift in the system of education. But the government schools and colleges are still following the old system of education, where it's still memory-based. 2 2s are 4, 2 3s are 6. But why is it so? No one knows. So we need to move on from a memory-based system to a more questions-based, a more practical aspect, where in colleges like yours, you learn by doing. You do project works. You work in various companies as fellows or as interns, and you get the practical side, the knowledge in terms of actual work experience. So that is very important. Coming to the culture side, our culture, sometimes I wonder, we are very satisfied. You watch the 7 p.m. news, you see a lot of ladies complaining about the prices of vegetables going up, inflation. A lot of entrepreneurs complaining about the political instability. A lot of industrialists complaining about the environment is not conducive for investment. But all of them will be complaining with a big smile on their face. They're so boiled, and the lady is also smiling. The problem is we are so content with what little we have. And that is a part, somehow become a part of our culture. Everyone is so satisfied, everyone is so happy, no matter how bad the situation is, which is positive in a way. But to move forward and to become a developed country, we need to be a little, we need to ask for more. We need to have that hunger to achieve more. And if you are dissatisfied about something, you need to bring about that change. You need to be the change that you want to see and bring about that change. So I think that hunger to achieve more, to create that environment, by becoming that change you want to see, I think that is something very important within our culture, something that is ingrained.
Thank you, Sauraji. I think he has set the ball rolling for this particular session very well. He brings about the difference, as I have written here, that education is not about attending. I'm going to play on the word attending over here. Education is not about attending, it is about attending. To tend is to take care of. So to educate yourself or to educate the other is to take care of. And one often believes that a whole year is not needed to learn or to educate yourself in the content. But a whole year may be required as a discipline, as a scholar. That it is about attending. So maybe that's nice. He's also brought out this point where he says, management is not something that is inherited, it is learned. So again, he has connected education, learning. So if it is to be learned, that means you need to be open to it. You can't say, I already know, and therefore, I don't need to know anything more. That's not how it can be surmised. Content and satisfaction, very nice. Is it good to be satisfied? No. But is it good to be complacent? Definitely not. So if you're complacent, then maybe that is not the route to your learning or to be managing and things like that. And of course the work-life balance, the engaging with the society, the engaging with the family, which is so much important. Gender biases and things I'll come to a bit later. I'm sure you already have certain questions, certain points that you want to make just as I'm reflecting on what he has already said. Please do jot it down and we'll come back to listen to you. I think taking the cue from his talk, I would like now Mr. Shekhar Locha to take the podium. Again, a name that really needs no introduction, but then that's not being fair on them if we do not introduce them, right? Again, a person who has huge promise. I've often said over the past few years that I have seen him that he is the man to watch. And you bet it is true. He is not just the Vice President at FNCCI just now, he was with NADA, he's Nepal India Chamber, he's Nepal China Chamber, but to you maybe he is more of KTM and Bajaj and Samsung. But he is definitely a lot more. And he's one of the people perhaps who has made management an art in itself. So perhaps he can put it in better words than me, of course. So Shekharji, please. Thank you.
I've been in business for almost 27 years. I may look very young, and I'd like to believe that. But I'm actually 47 years old. And I think I can say with a lot of conviction that I've seen them all. I've seen probably the best time in Nepal to do business, which was in the late 80s and early 90s. And I've seen the worst time to do business in Nepal. That's when our entire country was into a whirlwind of insurgency and doing business was extremely difficult. So I've seen a great high and I've seen a great low. And I see a time now which is extremely bright, which is going to be really great future for Nepal. What hurts me most, and I'll come to the management part later, but what hurts me most and what really disappoints me the most is when youth of Nepal come and say, and they say that we don't see future in this country. And this is something which, I just feel like taking that guy and giving him 2 hours of peace of my mind, that you do not know that you are just sitting in a point where opportunities are just going to be, it's just a land of opportunities you are sitting on. And seriously, this is just not a cliche which I would like to say, but you are so lucky that you are from a country which is got truly offering opportunities. But you just need to think right. You just need to look forward. You need to think positive. if you just want to see the bad things in the country, you're never going to reach anywhere. Even in our relationships, even when we do business, or when we look at things, if you just have the negative parts of it, it's not going to take you anywhere. So you need to look at the positives. And what is the positive in this country? The positive I see, if I have to define 4 major positives in this country, is we are one of the youngest nation in the world. And countries are aging. You take in case of Japan, it's aging. Most of Europe is aging. That average age of people, working age people is already crossed 40 years, 50 years like this. Even China, if you say it's aging. Opportunity lies in young countries. And we are one of the countries where the average or the median age is around 23 years, if I'm not mistaken. So, being in a young country is where the future is. Do you think real big changes in business and opportunities can be bought by countries like Japan now? Of course not. It's countries like us which are going to bring major changes in the world. And we are lucky to be in this nation. Another thing is, all countries are beautiful. I haven't met a person who says my country is very ugly. We all say our country is beautiful, but truly, look at Nepal. I've had this opportunity of trekking all around the country, and I've traveled all around the world as well. Maybe 45 or 50 countries. But truly, the sort of blessings of nature we have got in Nepal is nowhere else. And if you do not see an opportunity here, we have to be really stupid. We have to be the most stupid people in the world not to see the opportunity of being in the most beautiful country in the world and not doing anything. The third thing is, of course, we all know this, and it's almost become like a cliche about our hydropower potential. Of course, it's true. 83,000 megawatt of viable hydropower potential we talk about. Now, even if we harness 20% or 30% of it, we're going to be one of the richest countries in South Asia, or maybe one of the richest top 10 in Asia. There is a great opportunity for us here as well. And another thing is, we are just strategically or geographically placed between 2 of the most biggest economies and the most populous countries in the world, India and China. Both countries are going to become the first largest economy. China is already going to become in maybe 2-3 years, and India is probably going to become one of the second largest economy in maybe 7-8 or 7-10 years. What is the opportunity you see here? Can our neighbors be extremely rich and we don't do anything? Don't you see an opportunity here? Can our neighborhood be the richest people in the world and we don't get that positive vibe in us? Is it possible? So what I feel is, we must first realize that we are sitting in a lap of opportunities, and we are so lucky to be born in this country that we are the people who are going to make change if we think positively, if we do things correctly. Of course, I will not deny the fact that we don't have challenges. Politically, we are still very fluid, and but look at from the perspective where we were and where we are heading. So if you look at it from that perspective, we're not too bad. We're getting there. Of course, it's taking almost ever to make the constitution. Of course, the challenges are there. Of course, the challenges are there that politicians haven't probably performed the way we are expecting them to perform. But then, in perspective, we are getting better. So I feel that it is not too bad. Even in the labor perspective. 3 years or 4 years back, when we had just come to the so-called democracy, which we call it now, the labor was extremely politically motivated. And nobody cared about productivity, nobody cared about taking their companies they work for to newer heights. Everybody just wanted to talk about their own rights. So what happened? The industries really started suffering. The industry had 12% contribution in our GDP just a couple of years back, which has gone down to 8%. And from a country we are constantly becoming a country which is dependent on trade, and dependent on the remittance which we receive. So these are the challenges. But I don't see this challenge as big enough for you to think negative about this country.
Thank you, Shekharji. That was indeed wonderful. A lot of points put together. And yes, of course, this country is a country of opportunities. This is a place where the pages of history are turning every day. This is the only place where the theories of economics are being pulled threadbare. And this is a place where management, if one could say, is still an infant. And almost all aspects of living are evolving.
Cost of unethical practice, higher legal cost, because you have to go to the court to make many things to bring it into place. I'm sure this becomes very expensive when you are not doing anything ethical. Dissatisfied and unethical employee starts leaving your office. They don't feel happy. You feel you are always doubtful there is something wrong. The management is not correct. They are just trying to make us work under pressure to do more business, which is very short term and not ethical. Reluctant investors, business partners and customers, it's already explained, they become very reluctant whether you should continue your business in that particular bank or office, whatever you say, or the customers are reluctant to come to you, they don't enjoy, they don't like your service, or they are doubtful you might get, we always say, pretty posla, your office na it's that kind of saying is always there in your mind, so you are doubtful. Deteriorated branch image, regulatory restrictions limiting the business growth. Then nowadays, Rashtra Bank is very, very strict, and they do supervision. Now they have started coming every year to the banks. Earlier it was 2 years. Now and they do restrict us from doing many businesses. At times we say bank kasari chalaउने bank business garnu diदैन Rashtra Bankle. But at the same time, they are correct. They have certain regulations, we need to follow them. And Shekhar was talking about perception management, that is also true. For example, if he comes to me, to my bank and say, we need a loan of 10 crore for certain business, we feel confident he's there. We know his history and business background, and we trust him, and we say we can proceed.
The question is generally for all honorable panelists to clarify the provision of such investments for sure short business ideas. So,
honestly, if I have an idea of which is sure shot, I will not share it with you. I will do it because as businessmen we are always hungry, not greedy but hungry to do more, to do better. So I feel there is nothing called sure shot in this world, until unless you put your money in clean energy bank, and I'm sure you're going to get returns. That is sure shot. Yeah, with good interest rates. But business is all about taking risks. It's all about your vision. It's about how you feel about it. For me, I've never gone into a business which I've not enjoyed. I've not run after money, but I've run after my dreams. And money has come. There's been so many opportunities which comes by your way, and then you come to think of it, do I relate to it? Is it really me? And then you say, no, I don't want to do this. And it's a lot of money making. People have made money in this business. But since you are not related to it, so chances are that you're going to fail in it in any case. So what I advise I want to give to the person who's asking this question is follow your heart, work diligently, intelligently, do your homework, and go step by step. And success is going to be there.
There's a question for Varshaji. How can development banks with relatively lower capital base invest in hydropower projects which requires a huge sum of money? How well have you been rewarding shareholders with investments primarily directed to the energy sector?
I didn't expect this question at least. I think you guys are very smart. Very good question. Like we are a development bank, but what has happened is Nepal Rashtra Bank guidelines says like 50% of your capital you can invest in hydropower, up to 50%. Normally it is 25% of your capital you can invest in a business. So with us, like it's not only one bank takes the risk, it's in consortium. Like we invite different other banks. Us being a development bank, we invite even the commercial banks are partners. So it's a consortium that we are lead in many hydropowers. So that's how we work. It's no one bank takes the big risk. So normally it is shared among the banks. The other question was, is it okay?
Yeah, then it's about how well have you been rewarding your shareholders with investments primarily directed to energy sector?
In that case, like hydropower, normally it takes 10 to 12 years for any project to be. They become independent. They are paid from. They pay the banks with principal and interest, so they become independent. And about this, like it is ongoing process. The bank is able to give dividends to the shareholders. Since 5 years, we are there for 7 years. It was only the first few months, that was after the fiscal year, we showed a little loss, but we have been making profits. The bank is being able to give 10%, 13.5%, again 10%, 5% cash bonus and bonus shares and cash dividends. So we have been able to make profits and share with our stakeholders. Thank you.
That we have opportunities, strategies and plans, yet we are not able to implement them. What could be the reasons for this and what can be done? I think Sauraji could also share on this, and maybe if anybody else wants to add to it.
I think this is a constant debate that we have with the government. We don't need a lot of laws and policies. A lot of laws and policies are already in place. It's just the challenge of implementing them. The challenge of implementing them again comes from, in terms of the national laws, rules and regulations. A lot of it has to do with the government and the will of the government or the strength of the government. Because a lot of times it's a coalition government, and to get things passed through the government or actually implement the law and order situation in the country is a problem. Because the laws are already there, but the implementation is the problem. So that is a major issue that we are facing right now. So I think as we move on and we have more political stability and the systems will actually start working in a better way, and at that point the laws will be better implemented in the country. So I think that is a situation that we don't need to be very much frustrated about. I always give this example, because I think we've just come out of a transitional civil war. We're in a transitional phase. We're not like other countries where there's been a mass massacre, a genocide, and then we've had a government in place. We've had a very good example where the Maoists have come out and they've joined the mainstream politics, and they're one of the major political parties. There are countries in South Africa where they've broken down. The economies collapsed in the transitional period. But we are not in such a situation. Though we've been in a transitional phase with political instability, we have had GDP growth. We have had investments in the country. We are doing pretty well. May not be the GDP growth that we projected, but we are still growing. Our economy is still growing. And I am very optimistic that now, if the government gives it a last push, within a few years we will have a constitution in place, and we will be an example for the whole world of how we came out of civil war, and now we are a federal democratic republic. So that is something very positive, and we should be proud of. So I think we're in the last phase. It's just at the top of the hill. We need to get over the top of the hill, and I think Nepal has a very bright future ahead.
Thank you very much, the organizers, KCM. I'm sure there are many students over here who are not KCM students. It's been a pleasure to see you and meet you here. Good luck. Thank you. Over to you.
I would like to thank our panelists for their valuable time besides their busy schedule. I'd like to call upon Mr. Samrat Ramachandran to present the token of appreciation to our panelists. Thank you, Mr. Ramachandran. Now, I would like to call upon stage the event head, Ms. Priyanka Paudel, to give the vote of thanks.
I, Priyanka Paudel, on the behalf of Nepal Management Symposium 2014 team, would like to thank our panelists, Ms. Vajanti Khare, Mr. Shekhar Gocha, Mr. Saurabh Jyoti, and Ms. Basha Shrestha for their precious time and enlightening knowledge. I would also like to thank our sponsors, title sponsor Jagadamba Steel, powered by Samsung, co-sponsors Unilever and Zambori, supported by Amazing and WorldLink, technology partner Himalayan Techies, magazine partner Business 360, airline partner Thai Airways, and knowledge partner ThinkFusion. And I would also like to thank all the banner sponsors. Lastly, I would also like to thank our participants for their participation in Nepal Management Symposium 2014. Thank you and have a great time ahead.